The magician Merlin tells the story of King Arthur at the beginning of the movie. Following King Uther Pendragon's demise, several people vying for control of the country led to war in Britain. Excalibur was created by Merlin to determine who would be worthy of ruling as king. When Arthur took the sword out of the stone, his half-sister Morgana Le Fay sought to use magic to control Britain and take power for herself. After a battle between Arthur and his knights, Morgana was banished to the underworld with the promise that she would return when everything was at its worst. Alexander Elliot, 12, resides with his mother in the present and goes to a private school. He receives a text from his pal Bedders, who is being bullied by bullies Lance and Kay, while on the school bus. They are confronted by Alex, who tells them to leave Bedders alone. Lance makes an effort to scare Alex and dissuade him from attempting to play the hero. Alex chases after him and leaps onto his back, giving him a public thrashing in front of the other children. Later, Mrs. Elliot discovers a bruise from the struggle on Alex's face. Even if it gets him into trouble, Alex knows his estranged father would want him to correct the wrongs in the world. Although his mother hasn't given him many details about his father, she has painted him as a hero who still had affection for Alex. To put an end to the altercation, Lance and Kay pursue Alex after school the following day. Alex gets caught by the bullies as he rushes towards a construction site, causing him to stumble and knock himself out. Kay and Lance flee in terror. When Alex awakens, he discovers a sword embedded in a stone. He succeeds in taking it out and using it. Morgana awakens in the underworld's depths and discovers that the sword has been located. She plants vines that will track down the person holding the sword right now. Alex summons Bedders to examine the weapon. They deduce that the sword is Excalibur after interpreting what was written on it. Alex has a book about King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table that his father gave him, and he knows that Tintagel is the island where Excalibur was constructed. Alex chooses to accept Bedders' sword and knight him. When Merlin detects that the sword has been located, he seems to be a teenager as he enters the town. He arrives at Alex's school in an attempt to become more intimate with Alex by posing as a schoolboy. When Merlin finds out from a teacher that there will be an eclipse in 3 days, he becomes anxious. Later, much to Alex and Bedders' horror, he storms into the cafeteria to inform them that he knows he took Excalibur out and that Morgana will rise once more when the eclipse happens. That evening, Alex discovers that his mother has vanished and that Morgana's skeletal minions are attempting to assault him inside his home. Alex charges at Excalibur, but Merlin destroys it before the minion can make a hit. He swiftly flees in his owl form, though, realizing that it is perilous for him to stay in the mortal realm after dark. Because the contents in the soda, ice cream, and nuggets from that establishment contain things that provide Merlin nourishment, beetle blood, beaver pee, and pulverized animal bones, Alex and Bedders discover that Merlin works at a fried chicken restaurant. He informs the lads of Morgana's plans to return now that the nation is in a state of anarchy and disorder. Until Merlin reverts to his former personality and gives the lads a vision of what will happen if they do not locate Morgana in the underworld and battle her there before she is set free and releases her army, the Morts Mills, Alex does not want to assume responsibility for protecting everyone. Though he is terrified once more, Alex realizes that he must rescue the day. He informs Bedders that, similar to Arthur, who was raised without knowing his father, Alex is destined to track down his father and enlist his assistance in stopping Morgana, thus they must travel to Tintagel to do so. When the lads return to the construction site, they see Lance and Kay. Alex challenges the bullies to extract the sword by placing it back in the stone. When they fall short, he takes it out once again. Despite their disbelief, he persuades the two to kneel in order for them to get a knighthood, and they comply. Then the Morts Mills appear to launch an assault. Lance makes an unsuccessful attempt to seize Alex's weapon and defend himself from them. As the four flee and discover deserted streets, everyone who hasn't been knighted will disappear. When the Morts Mills appear, Alex helps him up. They manage to eliminate the minions by stealing a car, but in the ensuing confusion, this attracts everyone else back and nearly results in a traffic accident. The group of four return to Alex's home, where he successfully persuades them to accompany him on his mission to Tintagel in order to locate the underworld's entrance and battle Morgana. But Morgana is watching them and knows their weaknesses, and she plans to take advantage of them. Alex writes a message for his mother, who believes he has fled and has previously attempted to convince him to stop talking about Excalibur as if it were true. He boards a bus with Bedders, Lance, Kay, and Merlin to Stonehenge, where they will hopefully locate the underworld's entrance. Merlin gives the four training to improve their fighting skills once they cross through. They struggle against Morgana's evil roots. She tricks Lance into keeping Excalibur for himself by using her sorcery. When the children cry out for Merlin, who comes back and pushes the roots back down, the roots get stronger and draw the children farther down into the dirt. Lance feels he deserves the sword more, but the others chastise him for what he done. After a battle between Alex and Lance, Lance breaks Excalibur. Alex chastises Lance for being a cynical jerk and spoiling everything. On their behalf, Kay apologizes, but she also says that since the world is already broken, they are bullies. Alex drops the shattered sword into the river as they travel through a swamp, but it is later found again when he discovers he can call upon the legendary Lady of the Lake. She offers Alex a fixed Excalibur after it functions. For the night, the pals pitched their tents. To find his father, Alex sets out on his own and travels to Tintagel. He finds a residence using the address his mother gave him. He locates his Aunt Sophie there. Believing he was the hero his mother painted him as, and that he was battling demons as she had said, Alex calls out for him. Alex is then informed the truth about his father by Sophie. His drinking was his devil, and he abandoned him and his mother because he had no regard for them. At one time, Mrs. Elliot attempted to meet him with Alex to see whether he had changed, but he hadn't. The book was from his mother, not even from him. After learning of his father's character, Alex is devastated and filled with hopelessness when he gets back to Bedders. Bedders then attempts to cheer him up and reassure him that he is not helpless against Morgana by using a metal duplicating method he learnt from Merlin. Additionally, Lance, Kay, and Merlin turn up to offer Alex more self-assurance. The heroes go by horseback until they reach a place where a passageway to the underworld leads. Alex meets Morgana face to face down there. She turns into a terrifying flying monster that seeks to murder Alex and sends her henchmen to attack his pals. He seems to slay Morgana by stabbing her in the chest while brandishing Excalibur. The heroes escape before they become trapped just as the building begins to fall on itself. Alex believes he has won as he tosses the sword to the Lady of the Lake and heads back home. When Alex wakes up the following morning, his home is covered with roots, indicating that Morgana is still alive and that the eclipse will take place that evening. He understands that he was untrue to his loved ones even though he believed he had followed the rules required to vanquish Morgana. Alex visits his mother and expresses his regret for his behavior towards her as well as his anger at her for lying about his father. The Lady of the Lake returns the sword to him, and he proceeds to the bathtub to show her that Excalibur is genuine. Alex enlists the aid of his pals to persuade the headmistress to gather all the pupils in support of him during his struggle. When the headmistress informs the students that this would take place in place of teaching that day, they are persuaded to join after Merlin uses his magic to show who he is. At first, they laugh, believing he is just being a geek. Bedders provide the pupils replica armor and weaponry to utilize. Along with the eclipse, Morgana and the Morts Mills arrive. After the kids rally and vanquish the skeleton demons, more emerge to engage in combat. Merlin is found by Morgana, who weakens him. When Alex discovers him, she revives him with ice cream, coke, and liquid nuggets. When it does, Merlin assists the kids in retaliating. Alex approaches Morgana close enough to fall on top of her and cut her head off with the sword. The remainder of the demons are defeated as her hideous body is dragged into the abyss. Everything has returned to its usual state. Alex and his pals bid Alex farewell, for there will be a day when they will once more be required. For the time being, Alex has made new friends and feels inspired to be the light in a dark world. Alex then launches Excalibur in the direction of the Lady of the Lake once more. And the story ends. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.